Hello guys, welcome back to a new video on my channel, and today it's another top 10. This time it's about Super Mario Odyssey. Now, there are a lot of power moons in Mario Odyssey, more than 800 actually, so I thought about making a top 10 about the hardest power moons in the game. Because there are so many power-ups, this list was pretty hard to put together, although I decided to not include any power moons involving shopping, or talking to Peach or Toadette, nor any hard to find power moons because the only challenge is finding it and not actually collecting it. And remember, this is based on my opinion, so your list might have a different outcome than my list. Anyway, with that said, let's get into the list. Mario Odyssey is not just about beating Bowser to save Peach again. No, after completing the main story, you have another quest waiting for you in the horizon, collecting 250 power moons. And if you spend another week grinding for power moons and finally getting to that high number, you unlock the Dark Side, one of the hardest kingdoms in the game. In this kingdom there aren't many power moons, but the power moons that are in the kingdom are quite the challenge. The first one on his list being Breakdown Road Final Challenge. What you have to do here is work your way to the end of this bridge of breakable blocks, then jump down to another path where you have to wait for a bonsai build to launch from the cannon. Then you have to make about 8 near perfect long jumps across those tiny platforms, and then you have to guide the bonsai build to this wall to let it destroy the blocks, and then you can get the power moon. We've seen this area once before in the Wooded Kingdom, but that one was really easy because in that area you at least had your cap to correct any possibly made mistakes. That is not the case here. I've heard a lot of people saying that this moon is the hardest one, or close to, but I didn't really find it that challenging. Even though your long jumps have to be pretty precise, you do have enough frames to pull them off. So yeah, this power moon can be quite hard for some people, but not really for me. And we're still at the Dark Side. Dropping off at this platform here and entering this door will lead you to the Invisible Road with the Power Moon Invisible Road Rush. Like with Breakdown Road, you aren't allowed to use Cappy, which is really unfortunate because there are big puddles of poison spread across the path and you can't clear them away because you don't have your hat. Instead, you are forced to pick up some rocks and throw them at the piranha plants and kill them, because if you don't, the whole stage will be covered in poison and you can't do anything anymore. But that's not the worst. No, the things that make this even more tedious are the giant piranha plants at the end. You have to defeat all 3 of them or you won't get the power moon. And what's so stupid about that is that you have to carefully make high jumps, otherwise you won't be able to reach them and you just get hit instead. So yeah, this power moon is very tedious to complete but feels so satisfying to collect. Who thought that in the gorgeous and peaceful Lake Kingdom there could be a power moon so evil? At number 8 we have Waves of Poison Hop to It. Just hearing the name makes me scared. Hop to It. In this room there are a bunch of platforms floating in the poison and you have to jump across those platforms. Easy, right? Well, if it wasn't for the poison waves coming from the side. Luckily for you there is a frog you can capture so you can jump over the waves. That doesn't make it easier though. You have to time your jumps almost perfectly. If you jump too soon, you will touch the poison before you land again, and if you jump too late, well, you know what happens consequently. But that's not all. If you want to get the harder power moon in this area, you have to grab a key which happens to be to the left of the ending platform, and that's easier than it sounds. What makes it so difficult is that the poison waves are now coming towards you instead of them coming from the side. So now you have to time your jumps even more precise. And then when you finally get to the key and grab it, you have to go back to the platform you came from. Jeez. To conclude, this power moon isn't that hard, but it is annoying. The Snow Kingdom. It's a fun and chill kingdom with pretty fun power moons to collect. But thinking about this power moon doesn't make me chill inside. There are a few courses of this in this kingdom and there are 2 which stand out as ridiculously annoying. The first course being Iceburns Circuit Class S. I know this one isn't that bad since there are some shortcuts, but this is based off the intended route and not the cheesy route. And I also think the controls for this style of racing is garbage because sometimes the bouting isn't very powerful and it can lead you in the opposite direction of what you want. The computer players are also really good, so you actually have to pay attention and be good at this racing because otherwise you won't get this power moon. There is not much else to say about this one, so let's move on. And we're back at the dark side, now with the first power moon you'll encounter, arrival at Rabbit Ridge, aka the boss rush of Mario Odyssey. To get this power moon, you have to defeat 5 bosses. That may not sound like a challenge, but what if I told you that you only get 3 hit points to defeat all of them? Yes, I know you get a heart before the final boss, and yes, I know it just are brutals, but the fact that you have to defeat so many bosses with almost no margin of error just makes you stressed. And I don't like that there's light gravity when fighting the bosses, because the timing of your jumps has to be different from usual. And then at the end, you have to defeat Robo Brute, which isn't very hard, but the rings Robo Brute spawns can be quite a hassle to dodge. Even though Harriet and Spewart are stupidly easy, I do find myself struggling with Rango, because the way he bounces is very unpredictable. Topper can also be a pain, because he throws so many hats around the field, and if you get too close to him, he'll spin around on the floor, and dodging the hats is quite difficult. So this power moon can be quite a pain to collect. Moving on. Yes, we are still at the dark side. Trust me, this is gonna be our last visit to this kingdom with Vanishing Road Challenge. And it's once again a timing challenge, like almost all the other power moons we talked about before. To get this power moon, you have to activate some P-switches to make long stretches of the road appear, and you have to make it to the next already visible platform before the timer runs out and the road disappears under your feet. That sounds easy and all, like I said a million times before, but the time window you're given is ludicrous little. You can't screw up here, otherwise you won't make it until the end. And what's even worse is that the harder power moon is located above an upwards going path of falling crates, which is even harder to get to. And then there are also other stupid tanks shooting cannonballs all the time. They aren't hard to deal with, but they are very annoying. With all that going on, you think that this could be the hardest power moon, but that isn't the case because long jumps and rolls exist. Yeah, you can long jump and roll and you'll be way better off than without doing those moves. Although half of the time you're forced to go upwards, so in those cases they don't really help that much. In short, this power moon is very tedious, but it is doable. Remember number 7 on this list? Well, here we have a very similar entry to that one, except much harder. Coming from Snow Kingdom again with Iceburns Circuit Class S. This racing course is the bane of my existence. There are so many sloped surfaces which slow you down, and the path is pretty narrow, so landing in the snow on the sides is pretty easy to do if you don't have a good grip on the control sheds, which is very common to me. The computer players are even better now, and the chances of you messing up are way higher than in the other circuits on this list. I am aware that there are a few shortcuts that drastically change your chances of winning, but again, this is based on the intended route. Also, bounding inside of this tunnel is really annoying and super hard to do because the controls are really wonky and the tunnel has slopes everywhere. And that's basically all I gotta say about this one. Here we are in the Metro Kingdom with the infamous jump rope challenge. This moon, man, it's so tedious to do. If you don't know the concept, let me explain. You basically have to jump rope 100 times in a row. At the start, the rope spins pretty slow and keeping control over your jumps isn't hard. But after every 5th jump, the rope speed up until you're at 50 jumps. And at that speed, your jumps basically have to be framed perfect. If you miss even 1 or 2 frames to jump, too bad, you have to start all over. That's right. If you mess up once, you have to start all over again. That makes this even more tedious and difficult. And I know that you can glitch out the camera and get infinite jumps that way, but that is cheating and not the intended way to do this. I guess that if you try this a lot, then you can find the right technique to do this, but that doesn't change this moon's difficulty. You probably expected this level at some point. Here we are with Long Journey's End, or better known as the darker side of the moon. This level is very similar to the Perfect Run from Mario Galaxy 2 or a Champion's Road from Mario 3D World. It's a giant marathon of mechanics and sections, making for a stupidly difficult level. First up, you have a section with sinking platforms and pole which you have to climb. Then there is a section with incredibly fast moving platforms in some lava, and you have to long jump across the platforms, otherwise you won't get enough speed to get even close to the next section. That next section is a little pathway with a few lava bubbles, pits of lava and moon snakes where you have to time your jumps really precisely. After that you get a section with uproots and a million burbos and do a little parkour with that. Then a long stretch of freezing water with a few fuzzies. Afterwards a section with Yoshi and conveyor belt going upwards afterwards with more fuzzies, then a long path of grass, and afterwards a tall wall of platforms sticking out of it, then a section with gliding and a lot of these sting buys, then a section where you have to capture forks and flick them across a giant pool of lava, then inside the warp pipe a moving platforms with a few cap beamers and another billion burbos, then a small cliff with Pokio and some swinging platforms which you have to poke in order to move on, then a small 2D section with Donkey Kong, and finally a section with Bowser, a couple of blocks and some rocks rolling towards you. It just never seems to end, and what's even worse is that when you screw up even once, you have to go all the way back to the very beginning and do the whole thing over again, even if you're at the end with Bowser. With all this going on, you might be wondering why this one isn't number 1, but that's because you are getting a lot of health throughout the stage. There are plenty hearts to fill up your health, and there also are a few life up hearts giving you 6 health points to finish the level with. So yeah, even though Dark Side can be quite a challenge, it also is pretty forgiving, which makes it easier than I expected. You thought the jump rope challenge was hard? Wait until you go to Seaside Kingdom and try the volleyball challenge. This has to be one of the most tedious things ever in a Mario game. At first the ball moves pretty slow and hitting it isn't very difficult, but every 2 hits speeds up the ball until 50. The ball moves stupidly fast at the top speed and trying to hit it is ridiculously difficult to do. And if you mess up, you have to start all over and it takes ages before the ball gains any speed. I've seen some people use Cappy and leave Mario off the field, but I don't really find that easier. But anyway, that was it for this top 10. I hope you enjoyed it, and you can leave your top 10 in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a like and subscribe for more upcoming videos and live streams. I hope to see you in the next video or live stream, and as always, goodbye.